This is the Jason Walker Show. Two-time National Sports Media Association Montana Sportscaster of the Year and three-time loser, the Jason Walker Show. The best local and statewide sports coverage, featuring the biggest guests from Montana.
Flint Rasmussen joining us here on the Jason Walker Show.
He's freaking exhausting, too. You used to dance a lot more. Yeah, I know, lady. I'm 51 years old now.
The NAI Hall of Famer Mike Van Diest joining us here, Jason Walker Show. And is it just a deal where quarterbacks have to be good golfers?
Well, that's all they have time for. They don't work out. They don't lift weights. They don't do anything else. They might as well go get on the golf course and at least have some fun.
And from across the country,
Doug Gottlieb, our guest here on the Jason Walker Show.
End of the day, remember, it's your show. It's got your name on it.
Howie Mandel, our guest here.
Jason Walker, deal or no deal?
the Jason Walker Show, broadcasting from the Major Mortgage Man Cave. Here's Jason Walker.
Whoa, happy Monday. It is the Jason Walker Show, and back after a fantastic weekend, great weather, and got a chance to do some yard work, which is always a good time. Love doing yard work because I don't want anybody else to do it. I'm like Mark Schlereth. He's got a great yard in Colorado, but he won't let anybody else mow or do anything with his yard either. So anyway, had a great time. Big show coming up. We're going to talk to Jordan Hansen from 406mtsports.com and get his thoughts on the latest news from the last week with the Big Sky, with the Frontier, with MHSA, and a whole lot more. Tomorrow, Lance Hartzler will join us. There's a interesting story out of the Big Sky Conference with school, and people may not realize it. And that's coming up tomorrow. But Jordan Hansen coming up a little bit later today. And we'll see what, let's see. Should we try this? Yeah, here we go. Waiting to see if we're going to get our guest on today, our first guest. Nope. So we'll try again later. Oh my goodness. All right, we got a big show. And lots of stuff. We also have our Auto Contest Performance of the Week coming up today. And there's actual Montana High School Association sanctioned events today. AA and Class A golf. And there was, we know who won the girls and the boys Class A first tournament of the year. We'll tell you about those coming up. And a whole lot more. So I'm trying to... Our guests, they're fun. They're a good time. So, all right. Hope you had a good weekend. You can weigh in anytime as we begin our COVID updates. And let's see. I get to the page. There were 43 new cases reported, 82 total deaths. Over the weekend, hit over 200,000. Total tests that have been done. 94 active in the hospital, 1,548 active cases, and 4,162 have recovered. 648 Yellowstone County, 231 in Bighorn County. And we are going to get our first guest on the air today. He is the longtime commissioner of the Frontier Conference. We were going to hook up Friday. We're hooking up today. It is Kent Paulson. Sir, how you doing?
I'm doing great, Jason. Thanks for the call. Beautiful day in the Flathead Valley.
That is, it is a beautiful day. You only have 84 active cases up there. The numbers keep going down, which is fantastic. We were just given our daily COVID update here on the show. Commissioner Kent Paulson joining us here, Mike Miller, State Farm Hotline. First off, tough news last week with you guys having to make the decision finally to move football to the spring. And it wasn't so much you or the athletic directors as the Council of Presidents, but obviously everybody involved, and a tough day last week when you made the announcement.
Well, certainly disappointing, Jason. A lot of people worked very, very hard to make it happen. And one of those things where, again, we were acting on behalf of the student athletes, certainly. And one of those things where I really feel like we exhausted every possibility. We looked long and hard at ways to make it happen. But as we know in life, sometimes it just doesn't always work out. And so for good reasons, certainly, we're revamping, going to come up with a new plan, and we're going to make this thing every bit as good as it was intended to be. And again, the safety of our student athletes certainly at the very top of the priority list. And so we're awaiting the championship dates now, as I'm sure other conferences that have moved some of their sports or all of their sports to the spring. We're waiting for the NAI this week to announce dates and times and locations so that we can work backwards and chisel in plausible schedules to make this thing work. So we know it isn't perfect. We know we have a fall season for a reason, but at the same time, we still have our academic year, and let's just hope and pray that we can put this thing together and we can check all the boxes for all of our sports, and we can get school up and running. We know that won't come without its setbacks as well. But everybody, like I say, has really worked hard at protocols for both coming back to the educational institutions, and then certainly for putting on sporting events. And again, I don't look at it as tossing in the towel. No one's giving up. It's just a matter of the Council of Presidents felt like in evaluating, and they really did a thorough job. It was time to move forward and plan another day.
Commissioner Kent Paulson, our guest here, Jason Walker Show. You and I talked a couple of weeks ago, and football was the status quo. We were going to play with the 5 teams. What was the final decision? Do you feel the Council of Presidents changed their minds just 2 weeks later after you and I talked?
Well, I think, again, like you said at the top of the show, everybody's watching, certainly the COVID numbers. I just think that, we had safety plans in place. Most of the athletic directors were feeling like in concert with their local city, county health departments that practices were going to be able to, unless something, certainly out of the ordinary came about, but practices were going to be okay. It was just that they couldn't get by the numbers that they were going to allow for events to be held. And when we started looking at the numbers, the spectator piece had really gone by the wayside, and that presents a whole nother issue with certainly moms and dads and grandmas and grandpas and relatives and just downright good old Montana football fans wanting to come in. They were talking. Some of the counties were still holding fast to a 50 number as far as the gathering, and you and I both know, having been around football a lot of the years in our lives, that it's pretty tough to cover one sideline with 50, let alone having 2 sidelines. And so I think that was a contributing factor. It was just, like I say, it was gathering up to the minute information. And when they finally they came to weighing everything out, they just felt like it was important that we have a better scenario moving forward, a better season. And again, we talked about it. No one has a crystal ball, and no one can certainly see what next spring is gonna hold. But you keep hoping that it's a better picture all the way around, and yet we know there's no guarantees, and so you keep running closer to that finish line. And obviously, by moving things to spring, you're backing yourself into a smaller window in which to accomplish what it is that we're trying to do. So the good and the bad. Let's hope we have more good.
I'll be, completely honest. I was a little hard on the Frontier Conference last week with the decision to move volleyball to the spring, but keep football in the fall. And I thought, why is it safe for football? And I asked the question, why is it okay for football to play at the time, but not for volleyball? And volleyball had to be moved. But you answered a lot of questions just by moving football and going through your statement there, the last couple of answers. So I wasn't. Just in full transparency, I wasn't exactly easy on the Frontier last week for making some of the decisions that that looked like it favored football in the long run, but in the end, I know player safety for everybody is paramount and first and foremost.
Well, Jason, you're only doing your job. I applaud you for that. I think there was some factor certainly in discussions of an indoor sport versus an outdoor sport as to what you could do with your spectators. A few more options, if you will, but really, as you can tell, there's a real family feeling that exists in this conference. I mean, I think a lot of that comes because we are a tight-knit group. We are full-time member-wise. We are in the confines of one large state. We work in unison, as you can tell, with our good neighbors to the west of us in the Cascade Collegiate as far as associative sports. Mm-hmm. But there was a factor there that we wanted to look out for and take care of our brethren. And when the University of Providence, and again, I don't want this to be construed as the only reason, but when the University of Providence elected to go all online, we knew that all of a sudden we were going to be faced in with 5 in volleyball as well. And of course, we had handcrafted football schedules for 5, so it wasn't like we couldn't mathematically undertake the project. But we've got good students down in Great Falls as well, and I just think that there was a real sense there of we can control this one. Let's go ahead. I mean, we understood that going back to the associative members in the Cascade, I mean, they wanted to play in the worst way, but they were in a situation where their conference, for their good reasons, had elected early on. In fact, I think they might have been the first NAI conference to move everything to the spring. That there was just no way. I mean, the president spoke very warmly, but very honestly about we can't play football on our campuses when we've moved everything else to the spring. And so theirs was situational, if you will. Mm-hmm. And yet we could control this. Did it make everybody happy? Absolutely not. We feel very, very strongly about some of the seniors that were fifth-year seniors, sixth-year seniors. You look forward to that very last year with your teammates. You look forward to your being probably in the best position of your life to be able to perform. And you've been building for this now for 4 or 5 years. And then in some cases, they're just not able to continue on into the spring. We have many graduates at semester time where they need to go out and they need to do what they're really trained for, and that's to attain a great job that our universities prepare them for. And so we know we're going to have seniors that probably now won't play because of COVID situation moving our sports to the spring. But in the big picture, we're talking health issues here, and ironically, many of those students are in the health-related fields.
Exactly.
They're going to be the ones going out, and they're going to be the ones taking care of you and I.
Commissioner,
probably more so me. I'm much older than you, Jason.
not by a whole lot. You're not. Frontier Conference Commissioner Cam Paulson, our guest here, Jason Walker Show. Just a final couple of quick questions. And you mentioned Providence. They're defending conference champs, I believe, in volleyball from a year ago. It'd be nice to have your defending conference champs compete with the rest of your conference. That, I think, played a factor for me anyway in the smart decision to move volleyball to the spring, atop of other issues. But also, when you look at the football schools from the Cascade in C of I, SOU, EOU, C of I is your defending conference champ. It makes sense to do something that gets them involved to have a shot at a back-to-back conference championship, which wasn't necessarily going to be the case had you guys played in the fall and they played in the spring. I applaud the Frontier for making these decisions to include everybody. And I'm very happy that that's a long-term, the short-term effect for the long-term solution here.
Well, and the trigger point to opening the door, keeping it ajar, was when the NAI originally was going to hold their football championships in December, and obviously that negated the out-of-state schools in football. They were going to be able to play, but it was going to be basically a non-conference independent schedule. Now, when they moved the championships to the spring, which we're going to learn this week where they are and when they are. That opened the door then at the time, even though we were going to still play in the fall, it opened the door for them to come in as an independent, as long as they formulated a schedule that was that met the requirements of the NAI guidelines. There was a chance then that we could get a team coming out of an independent grouping. But with our move now to the spring, you're exactly right. The band of 8 is back together, and the Frontier family is on the books, and we're ready to play. There's going to be some hurdles, but nothing that we can't handle. It's interesting. We start football in warm weather, and we end in cold weather. We're going to start football in cold weather and end in good weather.
Well, hopefully it's Montana. You know that, Commissioner.
Well, we could. Somebody asked me, when does spring actually happen in Montana? And I said, generally right after the 4th of July.
Yeah, exactly. We get about a week.
Yeah. As soon as the fireworks are done, then it's spring, right?
That's exactly right.
It's it's good. It's a win-win. Let's face it, Jason. Everything we've done since March for the benefit of our students, our coaches, our institutions. It doesn't matter what we do. We've shown creativity. We've shown that we're resilient, and we're going to label everything we do as a win-win because that's our business. We are a we-can-do conference, and we're going to make this work.
Final quick question, but how much of a factor was the myocarditis and the heart issues that we're seeing come out of the Big 12 and the Pac-10 doctors? Did that play a factor in the Frontier's decision for all student athletes here?
Well, I will say this. We're blessed to have our COP president, who's the president of Rocky Mountain College, is also a trained cardiologist, and he's a medical doctor. And so certainly he, along with others, I'm married to a former public health nurse. So there's a lot of folks. Greg Kegel, the chancellor at MSU Northern, is married to a school nurse. There was a lot of expertise and a lot of discussion, not so much in-depth discussion about the specifics aforementioned, but we talked about not only the student now and their health and safety, but in the future. And that certainly prevails for all of us. And so what are we trying to do? We're trying to stage something in the present environment. We're trying to stage something that's as safe as it can be, but also as competitive as it can be. And we just want to get back to doing what we do so well in the Frontier, and that's compete. And we do that
win.
up and down the line.
Yep.
And compete and win on the national landscape, absolutely. And so let's just roll up our sleeves. We're going to learn on Thursday. The NAI is due to, at some point Thursday afternoon, release the work that they've been doing behind the scenes with the NAC, the National Athletic Council, and certainly taking into account suggestions from coaches, athletic directors, commissioners, etc. And in the meantime, we're going to have our weekly meeting that our ADs have grown so accustomed to, and we're going to size everything up to where it is at the moment, and we're going to be ready to receive that information and go to work, because we want to get out right away what the new plan is going to be, and we're going to cover every gamut. We're going to cover our sports that we're still having in the fall, which right now at the moment is cross country and golf, and we're going to start to assess our basketball. We're going to roll our spring schedules in. We're going to certainly not want to shortchange. Let's not forget that the spring athletes, the outdoor track and field, the golf, we didn't get a chance to bring that one to closure last spring. Let's not have that happen again.
And basketball.
And basketball, absolutely. So we got work to do. We welcome that. There's a sun that's still coming up over Helena and Whitefish every morning, and let's make it happen for these kids.
Absolutely. Appreciate the time as always. I know we're going to be talking a lot here in the next few months as we figure out everything that's been going on, but always appreciate your time, Commissioner, and stay safe up there.
You too, Jason, and please get a hold of me because we love to get the good information out to the good fans of Montana and the Frontier Conference.
Anytime. Appreciate it, Commissioner Kent Paulson.
Alrighty.
Yep. Have a good one.
You too. Bye-bye.
Thanks. That is Kent Paulson joining us on the Mike Miller State Farm Hotline. Well, there you go. There's the decisions. And, I was honest, gave him I asked the questions last week. And he answered them, and I think we have a great working relationship. And that's the cool thing, folks, is that I can ask questions to people, and then when they answer them, it's great. And there's no animosity. There's no fighting. There's no keyboard warriors calling out bad takes and whatnot, and refusing to come on the show. So there you go. Appreciate Commissioner Kent Paulson joining us. So there you go. Good answers. And, we're going to keep spreading the news, the good news as well, with the Frontier and, of course, the Cascade Conference. All right, we're going to take a quick break. We're going to come back on this Monday. Don't forget, we have Auto Concepts Performance of the Week still to come. We also we have actual tournament results from golf, high school golf today. We'll tell you who won in the Class A at the Butte Central invite, and a whole lot more still to come. And when we return, Jordan Hansen, 406mtsports.com, will join us. We'll talk high school sports. We'll talk the Big Sky and more next.
Who doesn't love being number one? When your team's dominating the standings, or your favorite band rocks the charts at number one, it feels good, right? Kind of like how it feels when you have auto insurance with State Farm. Because making you feel like number one is an honor your local State Farm agent takes seriously. Through the good times and not so good, your State Farm agent's proud to be here to help life go right.
Call State Farm agent Mike Miller in Helena today. Do you love to look at photos of Montana, from animals to landscapes and more? Are you looking for a place to get your senior pictures or family portraits done? Are you a business owner looking to upgrade the decor in your offices? Well, look no further than Mark LaRoe Photography. Mark has been shooting beautiful photos all across the Treasure State, from rodeos to portraits, and would love to work with you. Visit marklaroephotography.com to see many masterpieces of his work, then give him a call to schedule your own photo shoot. Or to purchase one of his fantastic pieces, stop by Spirit of the Big Sky Gallery on Custer in Helena. marklaroephotography.com. Have you thought about buying a home and just don't know where to begin? Well, when it comes to one of the most important purchases one can make, we understand it can be frustrating and confusing, but it doesn't have to be. Let the Major Mortgage team help you with all your mortgage needs. Major Mortgage means major service, and we would love the opportunity to help you today. Give J.R. McFadden, NMLS number 1246357, a call today at 406-465-1918, or you can visit him at 2001 11th Avenue, Building A, Suite 3 in Helena. Major Mortgage is a division of AMCAP Mortgage, NMLS number 129122, equal housing lender. Yes, it's true that Montana is a long way from the Gulf Coast, but you can bring that Cajun flavor home with a stop at Cafe Zydeco. From po' boys to classic sandwiches, Cafe Zydeco has all the best Cajun in town. Are you in the mood for seafood gumbo or crawfish etouffee? Maybe you're craving jambalaya with some shrimp and grits. Head in for breakfast, lunch, or dinner, or call ahead for pickup or delivery. Cafe Zydeco will fix all your southern cravings, even on a chilly Montana day. Cafe Zydeco is a proud sponsor of The Jason Walker Show.
Store-wide savings are what you'll find when you shop for new home furnishings at Rucker's Furniture. This means tremendous values on Helena's largest in-stock selection of home furnishings. When you shop Rucker's, you'll find store-wide savings on the furniture you want for every room in your home. And you'll also find our selection of Serta iComfort, the most comfortable beds in Helena. 12-month financing is available with approved credit on most purchases over $289. Ask for details. You'll find store-wide savings at Rucker's Furniture, 1010 Dearborn, Helena.
Welcome back to the Jason Walker Show.
Welcome back. Major Mortgage Man Cave. This segment brought to you by Rucker's Furniture. I don't know why, but when I hear this song, I think of our next guest. It just rocking, just probably because he's got, he's like bionic man now after hurting his leg during the height of COVID. We'll talk to him about that in a sec. We'll find out how his health is. Also on this day in history coming up, Auto Contest Performance of the Week, and a lot more. Just got a great message from Mike Beagle, great SOU fan at Southern Oregon. And he said, thanks for covering the Frontier stuff. We'll trade you some of our weather. It's been 108 and 105 out there in Medford and Ashland, Oregon. I love the heat. I would gladly take the heat as we welcome in our next guest on the Mike Miller State Farm Hotline. Jordan, are you a big Heat fan? Not the basketball team. Nobody likes them, but hot weather.
No, one of the reasons I moved to Montana in the first place was to get away from the humidity in the Midwest. And even, it's supposed to like 99 or 97, whatever it's been. And, here the last couple of days, it feels a heck of a lot better than 97 with 97% humidity. So I like the winter. Outside of trying to drive between anywhere on I-90 during the winter and getting into a whiteout, I really do love the winter for the most part. So.
See, I'm not a winter weather guy. Is Jordan Hansen joining us? He is the great reporter for the Missoulian 406mtsports.com. I was going to say sports guy, but you've been covering a little bit of everything over the last 5 months. First off, how's your leg? Because last time we talked, you had just gotten hurt hiking. Are you healed up?
Yeah. Oh yeah. No, we're 100% right now. I just actually went down to Jackson Hole with one of my buddies, and we did a nice little 10-mile hike that we cut a little short because we stopped air poop. So, but no, we're good on that. Was actually kind of surprised how quickly it bounced back, but I guess that's the perks of being young, I suppose.
Yeah, exactly. No doubt about that. Hey, we were just talking off the air, but there was some big news last week. It seemed like we had like 4 or 5 breaking stories in one day. Let's start with MHSA. That we knew they were going to move the conference only football season, and at least that's the plan right now. But what was your takeaway with the MHSA and the board of directors approving, that AA and really all footballs and all sports could move drop non-conference games this fall?
Yeah, I wasn't exactly surprised. I think that's kind of been some of the momentum over the summer is, let's cut down on travel. Let's, figure out, different ways to kind of do things. I guess, and then I think there was a little bit of an extra mask mandate or something in that decision as well. So it really wasn't anything it's earth shattering, but at this point, earth shattering has kind of a different definition anymore, honestly. And so it was interesting that there was some spring football talk in there. That's some momentum that I've heard has been picking up over the last couple weeks. Mm-hmm. And I'm not entirely surprised about that. I think we'll have a little bit more clarity on some of that this week. But again, it's just MHSA just trying to cut down on travel and cross pollination with some of these teams and stuff. And the A definitely will definitely look a little bit different. It'll be interesting to see how that shakes out for sure. I haven't actually seen what the new proposed. It's some deep unease. And in fact, one thing that I had a coach tell me, keep him anonymous, but it was a AA coach, and he told me that they found out what. In the weeks to the MHSA's original plan, which they released on July 27th, he told me that a lot of ADs and a lot of coaches around the state got that information from newspapers and news reports and Montana Sports and us and stuff, and that there was kind of a pretty significant lack of communication there. And I think that's kind of been a running theme through this entire pandemic. Is it just seems like there's just a breakdown in communication between organizations, the health department, and other overseeing organizations and stuff too, and then with the state government as well, I suppose. But so that was definitely interesting, and to hear that. So, but yeah, that's definitely some momentum that I've heard as well. Is that there's some pretty deep ire right now with the MHSA among Montana coaches and administrators. So. Yep. Might be something to keep an eye on.
Oh, definitely we will. Yeah, there's no question about that. Jordan Hansen joining us, 406mtsports.com reporter, and he does a great job. One thing you and I talked about on Twitter a little bit last week back and forth was, is it fair for you when you look at Missoula County Public Schools, and this includes, I believe, Loyola because they're in the Class B over there, but they're in Missoula County. Oh yeah, and Frenchtown too. these schools won't be able to have fans in the stands because of the 50-person limit. Everybody's trying to get waivers. But is it fair to have fans in the stands in Helena or Kalispell or Glacier or Flathead, but not in Missoula?
Well, no, and I think it completely undermines whatever the county health department's trying to do as far as mitigation efforts or whatever. I mean, whatever the reasoning for that is, and no, and in a competitive standpoint, that's not fair either. I think it's a heck of a lot easier to play in an empty gym like we've seen in the NBA as opposed to even having a few fans and playing a bunch of home games with no fans and suddenly having this different competitive thing because somebody else has that. So and at this point it goes back to another bit of contention too, is that everything has been bounced back to the local municipalities and counties and the county health departments and stuff, as opposed to any statewide. I mean, obviously, Governor Bullock has had a few state mandates and stuff like that, but for smaller, in a large sense, for smaller stuff like NHSA rules and stuff, that's just not even being decided by the governing body. It's being decided by local counties, and I don't think it's fair, honestly.
Yeah, I mean, I took quite a beating on Twitter last week over a couple of different things I commented on with you, but I don't see how that's fair for anybody. And why can't MHSA executive board and those 16 members get together with the respective city, county health departments and come up with a plan? Or better yet, why not sit down with your governor and come up with a plan instead of just everybody? It's almost like the NCAA. Well, we're going to leave it up to the specific divisions and specific conferences and all of this. Nobody's making any firm decisions together. It's almost everybody wants to punt because nobody wants to make a decision.
Yeah. No, and that's exactly what it is. People don't want to make any decisions. I mean, I look at Washington, for example, and how they, it was like, 2 months after the pandemic started, and they were just like, hey, like, this is how we're going to do high school sports in the fall. This is how we're going to do other stuff in the fall. And lo and behold, having a plan, I mean, even if obviously there's always going to be, with changes and stuff like that, you're always going to have frustrations, but at least they have a plan, and at least they have, like something that, that they can stick to, to start off at least. So it's just it's frustrating for me too. And I feel for the frustration for a lot of these folks that, just like constantly, it just seems like everyone's punching faces back and forth. It's like watching a Big Ten game in November between Iowa and freaking Minnesota. I mean, like there's just there's no scoring. Everyone's punting. The defenses are, working, but there's no offensive momentum. We're not going forward at all. We're just stuck in on the 40-yard line. I mean, can't even get across for field goal attempts.
Yeah, they're playing 30-30. That middle of that field is just tore up, and nobody's doing anything.
Exactly. It's muddy. Everyone's just dirty.
Yep.
Some dude broke his arm in the first quarter and tried to come back.
Yep.
Like, it's just all sorts of silly things. I mean, that's what's going on right now.
Jordan Hansen joining us, Mike Miller, State Farm Hotline. Will there be high school sports this fall?
Yes, but we're going to get to like 3 weeks, and we're going to have like clusters at like 3 different high schools, and we're going to have to shut everything down. I don't know. Maybe that's a bad take, but I think that like some of the smaller schools will be able to get stuff. I mean, it's pretty hard to tell an Eastern Montana team, that is way out in Petroleum County that and has 3 cases total and has had 3 cases total this entire time. I'm just these are numbers
right.
Making up. I'm not citing any stats or anything, but it'd be hard to tell. Hard for me to tell them, you guys can't play, and that's where like I think some of the pushing it back to the county helps a little bit because okay, so for some of these like way rural counties, it's going to be a thing where football is not going to be more dangerous than going to the grocery store as far as picking up COVID, at least at this point. But in my thing is I think it would have made a little more sense just to try and move football to like a really a bridge season in the spring and try to have some of our more easily socially distanced sports, golf and cross a little bit, I guess, have those in the fall. But I don't know. It's tough. But my prediction is that we do get started with a lot of these leagues and stuff. But I don't see a state championship, or I really don't see it finishing. But I could be wrong, and I've been wrong before. So, but I mean, that's just kind of my general overall sense, and I kind of have a feeling that there might be, like I was kind of mentioning earlier, I think there's going to be some more conversations as far as pushing football to the spring, especially AA ball, depending on how things kind of play out. So.
But this goes back to another thing I got ripped on last week on Twitter, and it is, why are some sports okay to play in the fall, but not others? It's almost like Michigan came out and said, we're going to move every sport, or move football, but we have to save football, but other sports you're okay with just throw out there in the fall. But as long as we save football, including in the state of Montana, then everything else, it doesn't really matter. And that's my take, is we're throwing all these other kids and all these other sports into the fall, saying, yeah, it's okay if you play, but if we have to move football, first and foremost, we're going to. And that's wrong to me.
Yeah. Well, and my big thing too is that, okay, so football, and I think the biggest argument with football is that, these guys are just really close every single play doing that, whatever. But like, if you look at volleyball, or even when you pack up in cross country, I mean, your distance is not there. I mean, and that's, again, that's one of the reasons why I think golf is really the only, sport that, has a chance to really, finish through, is because just how stringent, the regulations are on golf. And I'm sure a lot of your listeners, know this, but, right now, basically, if you go to a golf tournament, you go there, you go to your hole, it's a shotgun start, you play with your team, and you go through and you submit your scores electronically, you get on the bus and you leave. You're not supposed to talk to anybody else. You're not supposed to say hi to anybody from the other teams. You're not supposed to talk to any administrator, like MLS officials or anything like that. And like, that's obviously just not possible with other sports and stuff. And I mean, and again, and I get exactly what you're saying too. And I agree. I mean, I think it's ridiculous that either have them or don't have them, but having this kind of mixture. And again, like, I was saying, like I said, volleyball. I mean, that's a sport where you're all touching the same ball, and that you're fairly close to each other. I mean, it's just tough. And I mean, I want sports. I mean, I like sports.
Yeah, we need sports to talk about.
And exactly. And I get a lot of coaches. I also think that there's a growing sense of some coaches that are a little bit worried about what happens if this gets into their team, gets into their program. Not so much. And I mean, obviously, about your kids first and foremost, but we're also talking about assistant coaches that might be a little bit older, assistant coaches' families, stuff like that. And I've had a couple coaches express to me a little bit of nervousness as far as that goes. It's like, okay, well, my kids are probably gonna be all right, but what happens if, God forbid, one of your assistant coaches or somebody in their family gets sick, and it's connected to a small cluster at such and such high school.
Right.
So I think that's another thing that we really haven't been talking a whole lot about either. And again, I'm not trying to be an alarmist or anything like that. It's just frustrating for me in a lot of ways how a lot of different things have been handled throughout this, no matter what you think as far as the virus goes and stuff like that.
Oh, absolutely. And you look at volleyball, you're changing the game of volleyball because you can't celebrate after a point, which that's volleyball, and you're literally changing the entire concept of the sport of volleyball because you can't have a celebration. One thing I look at too is the health issues. We had the 19-year-old kid in Puyallup pass away from COVID-related issues last week or 2 weeks ago. What if that happens in Montana? What if we have a junior, senior, sophomore in high school die because of COVID-related issues? We can't afford that.
No, we can't. And if you look at some of the things that the Big 12 is doing, I mean, like, they're having their athletes go through EKGs and like a bunch of different like heart things too. I mean, and like, that's just not reasonable to expect any high school in America outside of some prep academy and IMG down in Florida or whatever. But like, those are the precautions that are being taken to have sports at a high level. I mean, how can you not try to do or say the same things to for high school? So I guess my point being is, like, how, if it's if these are the things that are going through at this level, how is it safe to not do those things and still try to play at this level too? So and that to me is another thing too that I think is kind of crazy.
Yeah, no, I mean, we've been on the same page a lot, you and I, since March. But the funny thing is nobody wants to come on that doesn't share our opinions and talk. I got a message from an administrator at a small Montana school that said, going back to what you mentioned earlier, you talk about administrators, they're winging it and wishing they had a little bit more guidance across the state of Montana. And because they don't know, from 6-man up to AA, we have no idea what's going on across the board. And there's nothing solidified. And Jordan, we're seeing this across college football as well. Look at the Big Ten and the Pac-12. But then the Big 12 and SEC and ACC said, oh, yeah, screw it, we're going to play. But the Big Sky finally came out and said, we can't do this. We have to move to the spring. And I loved Coach Jeff Choate's comments, both to The Athletic and then again in the Zoom call last week. I mean, he's a blunt and honest guy. And, what were your takeaway from his comments?
Oh, I think he's dead on. I think he's speaking his mind. I think that's kind of rare for college coaches to be able to do. But that's one thing about Montana State is that they have just been at the forefront this entire time. They've been willing to let their athletes talk. They're willing to let their coaches talk. Leon Costello has had numerous Zoom and phone calls with media members. He's made himself very available to answer questions, and he hasn't been skating around stuff. And I really appreciate that coming out of Montana State, that they're just going to be blunt and just upfront with a lot of the things that they're doing, and they're not trying to mess around or do any of those kind of things. So I think that's really impressive. And I mean, I was already impressed with Jeff Choate as a coach. I think he's a rising star, and I think that this just only helps him. I mean, he's got his players back, he's got his guys back, he's got universities back, and he has the backing of all those people as well. So I think that he's dead on with what he's saying.
With the Big Sky, you look at Eastern Washington, and this is and like Coach Choate talked about, Eastern Washington, Portland State, Northern Colorado specifically. Eastern Washington, they just want to get done with sports completely, according to academia. But Northern Colorado, PSU, is there a chance we're going to lose these schools at the FCS level in the Big Sky and drop down to D2? Because financially, there's no way that these schools can really afford it for more than a few months.
Yeah, and I mean, it's so hard for me to predict out on that. I really wouldn't know, honestly. I mean, I get the sense that they're still trying to stay at this level, but I think that this entire thing is going to make a lot of different universities make some really tough calls, and you saw it kind of at the onset. A few sports cut here and there.
Mm-hmm.
I think people were just trying to for some schools you're living a lot closer to the edge than others. And the schools you just mentioned are living pretty close to the edge. As far as a lot of different things go, it'd be tough for me to see Eastern go down simply because I know there's some academia that's not as happy there, and you also have Idaho, Eastern Washington, and Wazoo kind of all in the same area, which makes it a little difficult too. But with the success Eastern had in the football field and honestly on the basketball court too, for the most part, Shante, and it'd be difficult for me to see them drop down, but I don't think it's impossible. And I mean, shoot, it was funny, me and Luke Shelton, the sports editor, were just sitting on sports this morning actually, and it was just because we had just gone to the gas station or whatever, and I just asked him, I was like, did you a year ago when we were sitting here, did you think that you'd have a mask hanging from your ear right now? So it's like, my point being, it's just like it seems things that seem completely not something you'd ever think about a year ago are now things that you're having to consider. So I think there's a lot of different things on the table, and I'll be interested to see what happens with UM too. I mean, they're taking a huge loss without football.
Yep.
And it's the university obviously has not had as high of enrollment over the last couple of years too. So it'll be interesting to see kind of how that plays out, even just in our own backyard. But I get the sense that Montana State are on pretty solid footing as far as finances go right now. But I really can't speak too much for the Portland States of the world. But
right.
I have to imagine that that there's a lot of conversations that are being held internally about that stuff. So.
I had the volleyball coach at Carroll last week, Mo Boyle, tell me, because I said, we're going to see a big explosion because school started today across state and colleges. And we're going to see a big explosion in numbers around Labor Day 2 weeks from now. But also she brought up 2 weeks after that, because of all of the partying that's going to be going on Labor Day weekend,
yep.
whether it's nice or not. it's going to be interesting to see what happens both collegiately and on the high school and grade school front too, if we can continue in school. Couple of final quick ones. You are an Iowa guy. Iowa's not going to play football, but Iowa State supposedly is going to. Clay Travis is ripping the Big Ten, but how weird is that to have one school playing and the other one not?
Yeah, it's definitely strange, especially since they're about an hour and a half from each other. It's not much of a drive from Ames to Iowa City, so it's just another one of those things that just doesn't make a whole lot of sense. I mean, I know the Big 12 really wants to play, and I know Texas has a lot to do with that, and Oklahoma as well.
Mm-hmm.
So I really do see them pushing forward, but it is very strange to see that. And if I see Cyclone football this year and not Hawkeye football, it's going to be very strange indeed. So, but it seems to be the par for the course for just about anything these days. So.
That's absolutely true. We just don't know what the heck to expect. There was a golf tournament today. There was a lot of golf tournaments today, actually. Class A, Class AA. That's awesome that we got to see real sports. I want to bring this up real quick because are parents allowed to go to these golf tournaments? Because they fought for a couple of years to be able to go. Are they back to not being able to go now? I don't know.
I believe that they aren't. I need to double check that and look at the MHSA guidelines. But I'm pretty sure that they're not. So yeah, it's kind of wild. It's like all these finally get your. Or I guess I forget what the exact term was. That you can go to certain viewing points on different holes or whatever. But yeah, it's wild that you fight for years with tooth and nail, and like that's like honestly got even like kind of like nasty too.
Yeah, and national.
Yeah, yeah, like yeah. It was like something where a lot of people were talking about it. Now it's like, well, okay, haha, sorry, you can't go. But yeah, I don't know. I don't know if they're even like streaming any of this stuff. It'd probably be quite difficult with golf, but yeah. So it's just another strange thing. Long string of strange things. So.
I saw the 406mtsports.com golf feature for the AA and the A, and everybody's been talking about football weather in the spring, and it's going to be so cold in February and March. Let's not forget the Class AA state golf tournament in Great Falls with the wind and all the snow, October the 8th, and that made national news because it was cold and blustery, and they're putting in snow. For Bozeman to go back to back. So let's not forget about the weather in October as well. Hey, Jordan Hansen, go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to say, well, hey, I think the state championships October 1st and 2nd this year. So hey, it'll be 5 days earlier. So maybe we'll miss out on this. So.
Well, it is 2020 at this point. I don't even really know.
Yeah, we'll probably the tornado and 3 wildfires that day. So.
There is a really good chance of that. I got beat up on Twitter big time for this one last week. I said that the Frontier Conference schools are not great college towns as far as telling students and student athletes what not to do as far as going out, social distancing. We know that in Dillon and Butte, they're big party schools, big party towns, and you spent time in it for sure, Butte. How do you tell these student athletes to stay in their dorms or stay in their homes and not have house parties or go to the bars?
Well, I mean, the owner of the Party Palace is in jail right now for keeping the Party Palace open past 12:30. So and from my understanding, the Dublin and Butte, which is one of the college bars that people hit hard, and Party Palace as well. Both of those are very hot spots as far as anybody goes. And I mean, how do you tell kids not to be kids?
Exactly.
As far as partying and stuff like that goes. And I think that a lot of those coaches do have a good handle on their programs and on their student athletes, and I'm sure that they're doing everything in their power to tell them. I mean, a lot of these high school coaches have been telling me that that they've spent significant amounts of time talking with their kids and and stuff like that, to wear masks and to do those kind of things. So I'm hopeful that there's some common sense going around, or at the very least, if you're going to be going out to these things, have a mask with you, and try to have some hand sanitizer and try to wash your hands and just do those like little things that might help it. But I mean, you've been to parties before, how close and compact everything gets, and people sharing drinks and stuff like that. It's just what people are going to do. And a lot of people have been stressed and cooped up all summer, and it's like, oh my God, I finally get a chance to see my friends and throw back some beers with the guys or gals or whatever. And I mean, it's hard to tell people not to do that, but at the same time, I mean, you got to be looking out for yourself, and you got to be looking out for, other folks. So I guess that's where I kind of stand on that. But at the same time, I can't sit here and blame, college kids for wanting to do things that college kids like to do, because, that's just, it is what it is. So.
Did you see the North Carolina student newspaper?
Yeah.
The headline.
I don't think we can repeat. I don't think we can repeat that.
No, I can't even show it. It was fantastic. It was the word cluster with a naughty word after that, not hyphen or not hidden at all. They spelled it out. Give them all the journalism awards, man, because that was awesome. But hey.
It definitely took some conas, I'll tell you that.
No doubt about that. Hey, appreciate the time as always, my man, and I'm sure we'll be talking soon down the road as we get closer to the start of the AA football season, supposedly starting September 11th. But take care, stay safe, and enjoy having some sports to actually talk about.
Yeah, definitely, Jason. Thanks for letting me be on here, and always good to talk with you.
Yep, you too. That is Jordan Hansen, 406mtsports.com. You can check him out, the Missoulian. Love his work. He does fantastic work writing for sports and really other stuff now in this day and age. But a great dude. Coming back, and we have On This Day in History, your Auto Contest Performance of the Week. We'll also check in the NCAA. Is maybe ready to make an announcement about something, about basketball. We'll find out next. This segment brought to you in part by Mark Leroux Photography, marklerouxphotography.com. Also, Ruckers Furniture. Make the quality choice for your home at Ruckers Furniture, 1010 Dearborn. Helena, Jason Walker Show, coming right back.
Do you love to look at photos of Montana, from animals to landscapes and more? Are you looking for a place to get your senior pictures or family portraits done? Are you a business owner looking to upgrade the decor in your offices? Well, look no further than Mark Leroux Photography. Mark has been shooting beautiful photos all across the Treasure State, from rodeos to portraits, and would love to work with you. Visit marklerouxphotography.com to see many masterpieces of his work, then give him a call to schedule your own photo shoot. Or to purchase one of his fantastic pieces, stop by Spirit of the Big Sky Gallery on Custer in Helena. marklerouxphotography.com.
Store-wide savings are what you'll find when you shop for new home furnishings at Ruckers Furniture. This means tremendous values on Helena's largest in-stock selection of home furnishings. When you shop Ruckers, you'll find store-wide savings on the furniture you want for every room in your home. And you'll also find our selection of Serta iComfort, the most comfortable beds in Helena. 12-month financing is available with approved credit on most purchases over $299. Ask for details. You'll find store-wide savings at Ruckers Furniture, 1010 Dearborn, Helena.
Dinner's Done Right is open and ready for you to stop in and stock up for the summer. How does a Big Sky flank steak sound? Or a sage roasted pork loin? June's menu also includes a Parmesan tilapia and a variety of fantastic chicken cuisines and more. And if that's not enough, Dinner's Done Right's Grab and Go Soup, Salad, and Nacho Bar is back as well, with one exception. The delightful staff now will make it for you. And don't forget deliveries to Bozeman and Great Falls on select days. Stop in at 1212 Cedar Street in Helena or visit dinnersdoneright.com. Have you thought about buying a home and just don't know where to begin? Well, when it comes to one of the most important purchases one can make, we understand it can be frustrating and confusing, but it doesn't have to be. Let the Major Mortgage team help you with all your mortgage needs. Major Mortgage means major service, and we would love the opportunity to help you today. Give J.R. McFadden, NMLS number 1246357, a call today at 406-465-1918, or you can visit him at 2001 11th Avenue, Building A, Suite 3 in Helena. Major Mortgage is a division of AMCAP Mortgage, NMLS number 129122, equal housing lender.
Welcome back to the Jason Walker Show.
Final segment on a Monday, Jason Walker Show. Back, Major Mortgage Man Cave. Fun stuff talking to Kent Paulson today and also Jordan Hansen. If you want a good follow, go at Jordy Hansen on the Twitter. Very good writer. And for being a Big 12 guy, he's a pretty good dude too. Big 10 guy. Sorry, Big 10. Big 12 is better than the Big 10. But anyway. All right. Interesting stuff. And when you talk about administrators, athletic directors, like superintendents, principals, nobody knows what to do with MHSA because MHSA is kicking it to the curb. They're like the NCAA. They're punting. They're making that nobody in this state, including, this goes to the top, Governor Steve Bullock. Nobody has a clue. There's not a same page on any of this. And after 5 months of being in this pandemic, you'd think that some people would have a clue and say, okay, well, if I'm the governor, I should probably, the buck stops with me instead of punting to this organization. And then this organization needs to stop punting to this organization. And it's just a trickle-down effect. And then in the end, everybody's punished and everybody gets hurt by it. So starts at the top. Jason Walker Show. Tomorrow, Lance Hertzler will join us from Northern Arizona. He's a beat writer for the Lumberjacks, also high school football in the Flagstaff and, Phoenix area, really all of Arizona. But great article about fees, student athletic fees in the Big Sky Conference. It's a great read. He wrote it a couple weeks ago. We're going to have him on tomorrow to talk about that. Also get his thoughts on the Big Sky moving forward in the time of the COVID. There you go. Speaking of basketball, because that's what we do sometimes, the NCAA came out today and said, we're going to let you know by mid-September what the plan is for college basketball. Is it going to start on time in November for games? I think November 10th is the first games scheduled. But they're going to look ahead to mid-September because they've seen the NCAA has seen the basketball people anyway, have seen the cluster that the football people have gone through, and I don't think they want the same thing. So they're going to, mid-September, about a month from now, evaluate and let us know how it's going to be working. Are they going to wait till like the Pac-12 and move everything to after the first of the year? It'll be interesting to keep an eye on that. And then, of course, the NCAA usually trickles down to the NAIA level. And so will we see NAIA basketball? Let's not forget, NAIA starts in October with games. So will we see those October, November, December games, non-conference, pushed out of the NAIA schedules, and they go conference only? And that's been talked about really since April. I've talked to a couple of coaches in the Frontier about that. So we'll keep an eye on the basketball. What else did I see today? NCAA Chief Medical Officer Brian Hainline was on the Dan Patrick Show today. And check this out. So we know about the Big 12, or the Big 10 and the Pac-12 moving football. How about this? Quote, this is from Brian Hainline, NCAA Chief Medical Officer. Quote, a month from now, when ACC, SEC, Big 12 are contemplating starting their schedule, we'll see where they are. They have to follow the mandates in place that would set up a confrontation if the mandates are not being followed. How about that? Adding, what does it mean to be a college kid and in the dorm? That could be a higher risk behavior than being in athletics. That's the dilemma right now, and really the dilemma of being a student athlete and not a professional athlete. Liability has been thrown around a lot, but in the middle of a pandemic, and say, what can each one of us do individually to do the right thing? Liability is one part of it, but I think it goes way, way beyond that, end quote. Brian Hainline, NCAA Chief Medical Examiner. We will see if any of these schools actually get to play fall football. My answer, no. My guess. But again, it's just my guess. All right, let's, what were we going to get to here? Okay. Auto Concepts Performance of the Week. Love this time of the week. Every Monday we get to do this, and it is so much fun. This week, your Auto Concepts Performance of the Week winner, well, there's 3 guys, and they all have the same last name. The Fitzpatricks out of Polson. Bridger, Gray, and Caden. They go 1, 2, 3 in bull riding at the Derby Rough Stock event over the weekend. Bridger gets an 87. Gray goes 85. And Caden goes 84. The Fitzpatricks can ride some bulls out of the Polson area. Man, they're good. And they pocketed combined, let's see if I can do my math quick, close to $1,700 between the three of them combined. That is super cool. Other winners, Troy Kirkpatrick in bareback. Alan Gobert took saddle bronc. And it was a good time over there in Darby. The Northern Rodeo will go this weekend on this 22nd at Webo, which has had no cases in quite some time. In fact, they have 0 active cases right now in Webo County, which is fantastic, especially for Webo football. So there you go. One more COVID thing. Did you see this? Sharon Stone, the actress, is criticizing the availability of COVID-19 testing in Montana. Apparently, her sister and brother-in-law are hospitalized in the state with COVID. Sharon Stone, who her sister Kelly also has lupus and is not doing well, according to the Bozeman Daily Chronicle. The governor's office has not returned her calls. Surprise, surprise. And state health officials have hung up on her when she tries to call. Stone called the governor's office last week, offered ideas to increase testing, did not tell anybody that a family member was in the hospital. The governor's office finally responded to her today from the Montana Citizens Advocate Office, spoke with Sharon Stone today. How about that? The state health department did not return an email from the Bozeman Daily Chronicle seeking comment. Like I said, this starts at the top. Starts at the absolute top. All right, today is August the 17th. It is Black Cat Appreciation Day. It is National Nonprofit Day, I Love My Feet Day, Massachusetts Day, and 1904 on this date, Boston's Jesse Tannehill no-hit the Chicago White Sox. 1920, Ray Chapman died. He was 29. He gotten hit in the head with a pitch by Carl Mays of the Yankees the day before. 1933, Lou Gehrig would play in his 1,308th consecutive game. 1957, Richie Ashburn hit a foul ball, and it hit a fan, Alice Roth. And then later in the at-bat, he hit her again. The first hit broke her nose, foul ball. The second one hit her while she was on the stretcher. Talk about bad luck. Willie Mays hit his 660th and final home run on this date in 1973. Let's see, 2008, the U.S. team of Michael Phelps, Aaron Pearsall, Brendan Hansen, and Jason Lezak win the 4x100 medley, giving Phelps his 8th gold medal. 2008 as well, Rafael Nadal wins the gold medal in tennis. Happy birthdays today, 1920, Maureen O'Hara, the Irish actress, Miracle on 34th Street. Of course, The Quiet Man. I watched 2 movies with her with John Wayne last night, Big Jake and McClintock. She was born on this date, 1920. 1958, Belinda Carlisle was born, the lead singer of the Go-Go's. You know what happened on this date, 1959, in the state of Montana? 7.1 earthquake hit Yellowstone. Quake Lake developed. Happened on this date. 1959. Yesterday, since we were off, a couple of big deaths. Babe Ruth, the anniversary of his death in 1948. Elvis passed away on August 16th. So yesterday. All right, let's wrap things up. I think the little one's about ready to get into the studio, so let's do this.
We're almost at the end of the show. What did we learn? And what did he miss? Time for the walk-off.
Good time today talking to Commissioner Kent Paulson of the Frontier Conference. We got the transparency from both of us. And like I said, having that great working relationship is paramount, and I love it. And I'm able to tell the commissioner that I question some of the decisions made by the Frontier. And he said, dude, you're just doing your job. And nobody's mad at each other. It's fantastic. Also, Jordan Hansen joined us. If you missed anything, you go to jasonwalkershow.com, and we'll be posting the show in its entirety up there. Also, the Helena High School's Rodeo Club having its fall rodeo next weekend, the 29th and the 30th at, Lewis and Clark County Fairgrounds. We're probably going to have a couple of the athletes come in. But the Jason Walker Show, proud to announce, we're going to sponsor the all-around gold buckle. So there you go. Fun stuff working with the high schools. All right, what did we learn? We learned a lot today from both Kent Paulson and Jordan Hansen. What did we miss? Well, just this. If you're going to call me out on social media and then I offer you a chance to come on the show and defend your position, have the balls to call me. Or just keep being Twitter-pated. If you're going to call me out on Twitter, have the balls to come on the show and call me out. And let's have a legit conversation. If not, then just shut up. Jason Walker Show back tomorrow. We'll talk to Lance Hartzler, Northern Arizona football beat writer. What the heck is the Big Sky Conference still doing, even without fall sports? He'll tell us. That and a whole lot more coming up. JasonWalkerShow.com. We'll see you back here tomorrow at 4. Have yourself a marvelous Monday.
The Jason Walker Show is produced by the Jason Walker Media Company. Any reuse, rebroadcast, or retransmission without the express written consent of the Jason Walker Show is strictly prohibited. Just listen, watch, and enjoy.